Hi guys, I'm Saumya and I'm back again with another video, and I'm very happy to be filming this video. Whenever I make my videos, I always say that I hope you're all well and safe. Well, in my own case, things were not so good in the past few days. In the last week of April and in the first week of May, things were quite difficult for me and my family. I fell sick, my family members fell sick. It was a time of lot of anxiety and panic, but thankfully we got through it. So I really want to say guys that if you haven't fallen sick and if you have been alright so far, please keep taking every precaution and keep yourself and your loved ones safe, and I hope you're all doing well right now. So I am back with this video. In times like these when everybody is feeling gloomy and depressed, it is very important to stay away from things that trigger us and to keep ourselves occupied with stuff that is going to make us happy. Books have done that for me always. They did that for me this time as well, and I'm eternally grateful for that. So today I have a list of 10 books that I would like you to read. Some of these books I've read myself, some of them I am in the middle of reading, and some of them I'll be picking up once I finish reading the ones that I'm reading. So this is a good list of books, and if you are looking for some recommendations, then this is your video. These books will help you take your mind off of anything stressful. So let me know in the comments which books are you reading currently. I look forward to your comments, and once again I hope you're all doing well, and let's get started. The first book is The Wind-Up Bird Chronicle by Haruki Murakami. It has been quite some time since I read a book by Murakami, and I have been itching to read this book for some time, and I always pick up another book and I look at it wistfully. That is going to stop now. So I love this edition that I have. I got it from Delhi World Book Fair. It's different from my other Murakami books edition because they are the plain smooth red or black ones, but this one is much more artistic, and I'm pretty happy that I got it. And on the inside also it looks so pretty. So well, this is a story about a man named Toru whose cat has run away and whose wife has been acting distant lately. Also, he has been receiving some explicit phone calls. So it's about how his life unfolds. There is a lot of reading and music in this book. All these are quintessential Murakami elements, and I am all for it. Next up is Kohinoor, the story of world's most infamous diamond by William Dalrymple and Anita Anand. So this book is non-fiction. This book is about the history of the Kohinoor diamond. I've had this book for the longest time, but for some reason or the other I was always intimidated by this book. But that is not the case right now. I'm not intimidated by this book at all. I'm totally 100% ready to read it. So that's what I'm going to do. Also, I have read only one book by William Dalrymple before this. It was back in 2016. I just never picked up another book by him after that. It's okay, now I'm going to read this one. The next book is The Stationery Shop of Tehran by Marjan Kamali. So I listened to this one as an audio book. So this book opens in the present time, but it takes us back in time during the 1953 Tehran, when two young people named Roya and Bhaman fell in love with each other in a stationery shop run by Mr. Fakhri. So as they fall in love, things around them change, their country changes, violence erupts, and everybody's future changes, and it's a story of love and tragedy and loss. Listening to this audiobook was one of those experiences which was beautiful and melancholic at the same time. We as readers know that there are stories like this that make us sad, but at the same time we cannot help appreciating that they were lovely to read as well. So if you are looking for a story with a vibe like this, then this is a good choice if you haven't already read this book or listened to the audiobook, whatever you prefer. So this story has romance, it has historical fiction, and it is well written. So if you like this combination, then go for this book. The next book is The Lord of the Rings, The Fellowship of the Ring by J.R.R. Tolkien. I am very happy that I have finally started reading this book. This was an obvious choice for me because I finished reading The Hobbit a few days back. Reading The Hobbit was a bumpy journey for me because I fell sick, but I did finish it, and in the last 100 pages or so I was very interested and invested in that story. So I am reading the prologue of this book right now, and it is talking about hobbits and their history. I'm very excited for this one because The Lord of the Rings is one of those stories that everybody tells you to read, and when you finally pick it up you feel good about yourself. So that's what's happening here. And also the genre of this book is fantasy, and in these times fantasy is much appreciated. The next book is Life, the Universe and Everything by Douglas Adams. So this is the third book in the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy series by Douglas Adams, and I listened to this one as an audiobook and it was an amazing experience. I laughed a lot. It was very entertaining and it is a bit difficult to explain what this book is about. But let's just say it's the continuation of the story from the previous two books, and there is Arthur Dent and Ford Prefect in it and other characters from the previous books as well. And a lot of the times while listening to this audiobook, I had a lot of moments where I went like, what did I just hear? But it was all so amusing. A lot of incredible, unbelievable things happen in the story, which makes sense because this book is science fiction and it is supposed to make you laugh a lot, which it does very, very successfully. And this is coming from somebody who's not especially a fan of science fiction books, but I am a fan of the Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy series. If you haven't read that book or listened to the audiobook, whatever, go for it and you will not be disappointed. You will be sucked into this world and you'll really enjoy it. The next book is The Testaments by Margaret Atwood. So this is the sequel to The Handmaid's Tale, which I read last year in 2020. I also made a review video of that book and I remember that The Handmaid's Tale was a dark read for me and I was not in any hurry to read the sequel, but I posted about this book on my Instagram and I was told by quite a few readers that it is not as dark as The Handmaid's Tale. So I am all up for reading it right now because The Handmaid's Tale, even though it was dark, it was brilliant to read. Anyway, the events in this book take place 15 years after the events of The Handmaid's Tale, which is rather interesting because The Handmaid's Tale, the book, came out in 1985 and this book came out in 2019. So the gap is much more than 15 years actually between the two books. The next book is The Seven Husbands of Evelyn Hugo by Taylor Jenkins Reid. So I listened to this one as an audiobook, and had my time permitted me, I would have listened to this audiobook in a single sitting, but that didn't happen. Anyway, so this is a story about Evelyn Hugo, who is an old Hollywood actress, and even though she is old, she still has a lot of popularity and her name still grabs eyeballs. So she finally decides to talk about her life through a biography, and for this she chooses Monique Grant, who is a journalist. And everybody is shocked, including Monique, because Monique is not anybody famous, but Evelyn has her own reasons for choosing her. So Evelyn Hugo talks about her life. She reveals about her ambition and her friendships and her love life. This book also has the theme of LGBT quite unexpectedly. You see all shades of her personality, and as a reader you really appreciate that because Evelyn hasn't been shown as somebody who is all good just because she's the protagonist of the book. Even Monique's life story is an interesting addition to this book. The next book is The Mystery of the Blue Train by Agatha Christie. So this one is a murder mystery, of course, and an American woman named Ruth Kettering is murdered on the blue train and her jewels are stolen, and Hercule Poirot has to solve the case of her murder. There are other elements in the story as well, but this is the crux of this book. So I always say on my channel that if you want to get out of a reading slump, pick up a book by Agatha Christie because her books are always fast-paced and so well written that you will fly through her books. Right now I'm not in a reading slump, but generally also reading her books is always a very enjoyable experience for me. And the last time I read an Agatha Christie book, it was Cards on the Table, and it did not disappoint me, so I have high hopes from this book. Next book is Abadazad, the Puppet, the Professor and the Prophet by J.M. DeMatteis and Mike Plug. So this book was a childhood wish for me. I got the first book in the Abadazad series in 2006, I got the second book in 2013 or 14, and this one I got in 2020, and no more books were published in this series, so technically this is the final and the third book in Abadazad series. It's a story about a girl named Kate who's 14 years old and whose brother has vanished, and she goes to this land of Abadazad, which was not supposed to exist, to find her brother. So it's about her adventures and it's fantasy, and also this book is for kids, but then again I came across this series as a kid and reading this was my wish as a child. So I'm reading this way into my adulthood, but I am pretty happy about it. Next book is A Suitable Boy by Vikram Seth. So this book has 1535 pages and I have read 212 pages so far, and I am very invested in this story. I'm not sure how long it will take me to finish this this book, to be honest, because my reading speed varies every day. So the main theme of this book is that Mrs. Rupa wants to get her younger daughter Lata married, and she's looking for a suitable boy for Lata. But that is one of the themes in this book, because a lot of other things are also happening and there are many other characters. In the first 212 pages, I have read about so many characters and different storylines, and each one of them seems equally interesting, which is why I'm really enjoying this book. But it is still quite early for me to say how I will end up liking it, because so many pages are left to be read right now. The story in this book begins in the winter of 1950. And Savita Mehra, who is the older daughter of Mrs. Rupa Mehra, is getting married to Pran Kapoor in Pran's parents' house called Prem Nivas in Brahmapur. So that is where the story begins. That was it. That was my reading list and my recommendation for you guys, and I hope you pick these books up and read them and enjoy them as I am doing. So that was it for today's video. Thank you for watching, and as I said in the beginning of the video, please take care of yourselves and stay safe. It is very important, and I hope you liked watching today's video. If you want to connect with me on my social media, the links are in the description box. I'll see you in my next video. Till then, bye bye, take care and stay safe.